And as you heard from his intro, my guest today on the Paracave podcast is a former player in the NRL who played for the Sydney Roosters, the Gold Coast Titans, and the club that I love, the Parramatta Eels. Also played in the English Superleague for Hull KR. Is one of my favourite Parramatta players, and anyone who knows me knows that I used to tip him for the first try scorer every week as a bit of a joke. But welcome to the Paracave podcast, Brad Takairangi.
Thanks, bro. Thanks for having me. It's been a while since we've been trying to tee this up for a while, so it's good to finally get on.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for joining me. I should have also mentioned too, a three-time World Cup player for the Cook Islands, also represented New Zealand as well. So massive achievements there. Now, uh, growing up, what was your upbringing like, and was rugby league always on the radar?
Yeah, well, so I started off at soccer. I played soccer from I think 4 years old. Then my mates started playing rugby league. They were playing rugby league with my schoolmates, so my mum decided to chuck me in there when I was under eight. I went all right when I was a kid, so stuck to it. But I think soccer definitely helped me just to upskill myself, coordination and kicking and that sort of stuff. So now my path was once I started playing league, it was something that I always wanted to do. I used to run around the house, commentating myself, and of my son who does it now. So no, definitely runs in the family. I think.
Who were you commentating? Uh, like, was it a former player that you were commentating to be
Yeah,
like, or
I used to love Penrith. Like I used to have a Penrith jumper, so I used to run around saying I was Greg Alexander and Brad Fittler. So I was only little at the time,
yeah,
so
yeah.
yeah, that's my earliest memories.
And this is despite that your dad played for Parramatta.
Yeah, well, he played before I was born, so
Yeah,
doesn't really count. So, yeah,
yeah. No, fair enough. Did you then, when you got a little bit older, did you end up knowing a little bit more about his football career?
yeah, not really. So he used to obviously play A grade once I was old enough to understand what was going on. So we used to go down and I'd play on the Saturday, he'd play on the Sunday, but I would just be, running around with the kids and stuff. Then I'd do ball boy for his team and that sort of stuff. But I didn't really get into it until I was like probably a little bit older when I used to ask a little bit more questions about his career. Um, he calls himself a Parramatta great. But I don't think he can get away with that. I think he only played 3 or 4 games. So, um, no, it was cool to see like different articles and stuff of him when once I was in my teenage to see that he had been, played NRL and that sort of stuff. So that was pretty cool to see when I was a bit older. But yeah, not too much to be honest.
Well, there's still three more games than what I've played of NRL, so yeah, still a massive achievement. Now, your first grade debut was against the Tigers at the old Sydney Football Stadium, which you won 44-32 for the Roosters. You were playing at the Roosters at the time. What are your memories of your first grade debut?
But 2010, so I just come from South. I played 2 years 20s at South, and then I got offered a full time contract to go to Roosters, so I took that up straight away. I got there. Brian Smith had just got coached, so it was Brian Smith and Rowan Smith and Trent Robinson was they were the
Okay.
two coaches. So I learned so much under those guys, especially under Rowan. All the Smiths that I've had, I had Tony Smith at Hull KR, but they're all different. But just the knowledge that they had in the game was second to none. So I just learned so much in my first year, my first preseason. And when I look back, I don't think I was actually ready for when I got my debut. I don't reflecting back, I don't think I was ready at the time. I only played 2 games. I played 2 games, and then I got injured for a pretty serious injury, so I was out for most of the year. Then I ended up playing the grand final that year. But I just don't feel like I was ready at the time. When I was there in the moment, obviously I thought I did, but just looking back,
Yeah.
I don't think I. But I wasn't until probably 2011 when I really felt like I had to earn my spot in the team. Started to get the respect around like the players that I had there. But my debut, I was buzzing because growing up, my idols were Benji and Sonny Bill, Carmichael Hunt too. So those three dudes I used to look up. I used to love watching them play. And to debut against Benji, I was like buzzing.
Yeah.
He was at the peak of his powers back then, and he made me look silly in that game. Set up a little try that I let through. I let the break through, but at the moment at the time I was just like, oh, how good is this? I'm playing against Benji, so I didn't really care. We got the win, but yeah, it was good. It's a good experience.
Yeah, no, definitely. You mentioned the Smith there, obviously coached by Brian Smith and Tony Smith as well. Is there much difference between the two Smiths, Tony
Yeah,
and
there's
Brian?
a difference between them, but they were both good in their ways. So yeah, like I said, I come in fresh to Roosters, so I just learned so much about the game offensively and defensively from Brian. Rowan at the time was a great attacking coach, and Robbo was the defensive coach. But yeah, they are very different in how they go about their coaching, but they're both very effective. I had a great relationship with Tony the last couple of years over in Holker. He was very much like a father figure to me while I was over there. So, no, I'm just very grateful for the Smiths. And yeah,
Yeah, and I think Rowan's now over there in the English Super League as well, coaching, head coach.
yeah, going too while he was over there coaching leads. So it was good just to catch up with him and just chat about old times. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, you then moved to the Gold Coast. What was the reason for the move to up to the Gold Coast?
So 2012, I played most of the games, like I basically in first grade the whole time. And then Brian Smith got sacked.
Okay.
Uh, and then that's when they appointed Robbo to come in as head coach. And I was very excited because the club had just signed Jimmy Maloney, Michael Jennings had just signed too, and then the big one like Sonny had signed. So
Yeah,
I was stoked. There was my idol to go and learn from him each and every day. Something I was really looking forward to, but it didn't work out. It actually had Sonny come in, and because I was playing back row, it sort of I went down the pecking order after that because they had some great back rowers back then. They had Boyd Corden was playing, Boydie, Sonny, and Aiden Guerrero was there.
yeah,
Frankie the back row, so they had some unreal. So it was up to me whether I want to stay and learn, bide my time, or I could go to Gold Coast and play centre. So I was playing back row to start at Roosters, and then just the opportunity to be a starting player, different position, somewhere where I felt like I would suit playing centres. So that was the appealing thing. So it was something that I had to weigh up. It was completely up to whether I want to go or not, and just the appeal of becoming the starting centre in the team was something I couldn't turn down, even though I would have loved to have stayed and learn my craft more under Sonny. It wasn't meant to be, but yeah, that was the path that I went, and I really, really enjoyed my time up at Gold Coast. Same again, like John Cartwright was the coach, so
yeah,
had a meet with him, and once again, it was a different type of coaching. He was unreal. He was such a good bloke. He was a real good man manager. They had really good experienced players up there. So Nate Miles had just moved up there. So I actually, when I first moved up, I was living with Nate for a couple of months. I'm pretty sure there was about there a couple of months. They had Greg Bird, Ashley Harrison, Mark Minicelli. So they had a
yeah.
ton of experience up there, which I was really excited to get up there and learn beside those blokes.
So you started off in the back row, as you said, and then you moved to the Gold Coast, and then into the centre position. Is that the reason for the change, and which one was your favourite playing position?
Yeah, so just obviously becoming a starting centre was probably the best thing for my career. I was on and off the bench for Roosters, like starting, then on the bench, and it was just good to lock down one position, one side of the field. And that was just the start of. I think that's where my career really started to kick off. Was when I went to the centres. Yeah, we had a good young squad up there. Aiden Caesar, Albert Kelly was up there. Two of the fastest wingers in the comp at the time, and David Mead and Kevin Gordon. So it
Yeah.
was really fun to get up there and play some footy with them. which I definitely helped me become the person that I am today.
And is that the reason? Was it Brad Arthur? Was that the reason why he got you to Parramatta as a centre?
So that's actually a very funny story. I'd agreed to go to Tigers after Titans, so I'd agreed to 3 years, and then the coach got sacked. Mick Potter also I'd
Okay,
agreed.
yeah,
So then that deal ended up falling through. So I was at the time because it was probably like I was in the Kiwi squad. It was the trainer squad, so I was training for the Four Nations squad. I didn't end up making that squad. So once that squad had been cut down, like the actual final team, didn't make that. So I was like, oh, that's it. I'm going to go on a holiday and just let my manager sort it all out. So
yeah,
I went out to Bali, and like 2 days in, my manager calls me and says, mate, you got to meet with Brad Arthur over there. And I'm like, oh, what? Like, I couldn't believe it, eh? Uh,
yeah.
I've been having a few beers with my brother-in-law, and like, mate, you got to get up. You're like you got a meeting with Brad in like a couple of hours, and I was like, bro, like how do you just tell me straight away like this? So brother-in-law Eddie Pettyborn is like, mate, quick, get up, you got to go, get ready, have a shower. So we had a shower, got up, went down and met Brad, and as soon as I met with him, I just knew that like Para was the place that I wanted to go. And yeah, that definitely made me as a player going to Para. Yeah, but as soon as I spoke to BA, I was so keen to get down there and play.
Yeah, well, just how hard was that 2016 season, knowing that it was the stuff off the field happening that impacted the team on the field?
Yeah, it was very frustrating that because it was all out of our control. So all we control was playing on the field, and even though we got our points stripped, we as a squad and as a team, we honestly thought that they're taking 8 points off us. Was it 8 points or was it 8 points?
I think 12, I think. I
I
think.
was 12. So they're taking our points, but we still felt like we could have a crack and like make the eight, and we obviously didn't make it. But yeah, it was very disappointing. But yeah, it was out of our control.
I think it was only you're only one loss out of the eight, I think, by the end of it. So you nearly
Yeah.
got there, but the next season you turn it all around and make the top four in 2017. What do you think that change was the next year to make the top four?
Oh well, I think if we kept our points, we would have been close to the top four in 2016 anyway. So what BA and what he is very good at doing, it's bringing players in and bringing them together as a squad, and no matter what's happening outside of the four walls at Parramatta, it doesn't affect us. He just makes sure that the squad's really tight together, and then we play for each other, we play for him and the coaches, and he's always been really good at that, and
Yeah,
it's just continues to go on with how the boys made the grand final last year, and hopefully they can go one more better this year.
yeah, for sure. A highlight game in 2016 was that last game at Pertec Stadium against St George. I think 36-8. I think the score was. I think you put in a great kick for Bevan French, I think, for one of the tries. Just how
Yeah,
special is it to play in those sort of games?
oh yeah, 100%. It's Fox Sports shows a lot of our old games. So we were part of a lot of crackers. But yeah, that was definitely something special. It was the last game at the old Pertec, and to put on a really good performance like that, have a hand in a couple of tries here and there. Nothing beats seeing the crowd go wild, especially like now at Bankwest as well. So great times. Myself and Bevan always have a good giggle at that every time it comes up on TV every year. So no, it's good.
Yeah, for sure. And you had a great combination with a certain winger, Semi Radradra. A great combination there. What was Semi like on the field and off the field?
Oh yeah, he's still one of my good mates. Didn't actually get to catch up with him overseas because how our schedules were, but yeah, it was just one of those things that clicked, I guess. I was good at setting him up, and he was good at finishing them pretty much. So he was an absolute freak of a player. Like definitely the best player, best winger that I've played with. Probably be up there with one of the best players that I've played with. Just so free spirited. He nothing phased him. Even when he went through all his dramas and stuff, nothing phased him. He just kept turning up for the boys, and No, I got nothing but love for Sammy and his family.
Yeah, certainly the last couple of weeks with all this media X Factor talk at Parramatta, a lot of fans have said that they'd love to have Semi back.
Oh, mate, how good would he be, honestly?
It'd be great to have Semi on one wing and Micah on the other wing. It'd be two big Fijians. It'd be awesome. We see this year with the Eels that they're 1-5. So they've been in the games very close to winning the games, but they haven't got the results. 2018 was a tough year for the Eels and yourself. I think it was 0-6, I think 0-7, or got that win in the seventh game. Just how when you're on a losing streak like that, how do you try and turn that around and then you get a win? Does that bring up back up the confidence?
Yeah, 2018 was a very frustrating year, I guess, in a sense, especially coming off such a great year in 2017. We even though we went out the back door in two games in 2017, we were confident that we'd brought in Haynes had come back, Tony Williams had come in, just added to the squad. So we were very confident going into that year, and it just didn't click for us. It was I've talked about it before, but it was really embarrassing, to be honest. Like, to be 0-6, didn't really want to show our face around town and stuff because we know how proud the Parramatta supporters are. But it wasn't through a lack of trying. Like, we were trying our asses off, but it just wasn't happening for us. So when we finally got that win, I think it was against Manly. I think we went out and played against Manly, and we just went back to having fun, and I think we put on a fair bit of points in that game, and it's just like a big weight coming off your shoulders once you got that win. And we honestly thought, okay, here we go, like we're gonna go on a roll here and start building up. But yeah, 2018 just wasn't the year for us.
Well, but then the exciting new. Do you think also too part of that was playing at a core stadium as well and not an actual Parramatta home ground? How difficult is that?
Well, we were there for 2 years, so we can't really blame the stadium. But the difference having Bank West, like the difference from 2019 to 2018 was second to none. Like, when you have a full crowd of blue and gold just going nuts, like it actually can carry as like an 18th man, really. And yeah, I guess we can't blame it on that, but just the difference it makes having that home ground advantage, it's massive.
Yeah, well, we saw that full crowd, nearly 30,000 at the opening game of what was then Bankwest Stadium, now Combank Stadium, against the Tigers, and the Eels play the Tigers this weekend, I should say, Easter Monday, and that was the Easter Monday game in 2019. What was that
Was it?
like to open the new stadium?
Yeah, it's probably one of my favourite games. That game, nothing could go wrong for us. We'll never lose in that game, no matter what. And well, that's how I feel anyway. We'll never lose in that game, and um, Mitchell opened the scoring over the break. It was actually a close game at the start. Like, it was a good grind at the start, but once he scored, and then once like the crowd getting the back of us, like nothing could go wrong. And that was probably like one of my favourite tries. And that's a question later, but that's probably one of my favourite tries is scoring at the new stadium, crowd going wild. Yeah, it was unreal game, and it was a great result for us.
It was one of those great leaping up scoring tries, wasn't
Yeah, I don't think it was the first try, so probably
it?
funny, but
Good thing I didn't gamble on it. I just tried to pick it. But the other game there is obviously the 58-0 against the Broncos. I mean, that's in the finals. That's unbelievable to have a score like that in the finals.
yeah, that was another memorable game for us. Just when we're on a roll and everything's going for us, and it's the same with the boys now. Once we're on the front foot, it's very very hard team to stop. And like I said before, like once the crowd gets in the back of you as well, and you're playing good footy, like it's a combination that's very hard to beat.
Was things becoming tough in 2020, playing in the centres, and then you ended the season on the bench, and then moved over to the UK?
Yeah, it was a little bit frustrating. I actually felt like I had probably one of my best pre-seasons leading into that season, but obviously I knew that Wanga and Jenko were going to be the centers. But it was just that year too of COVID, everything got
Yeah,
stopped. It was just one of those years, to be honest. Yeah, we had the All Stars game at the start of the year. I actually did my plantar fascia in that game, so that set me back, and I was lucky enough to get back for round one fit, ready to go. But then on the captain's run, was it captain's run? No, it was a session before captain's run. I rolled my ankle like pretty bad, and it
oh,
was
okay.
um yeah, Pete Cassar, who was uh he was like doing this video stuff. He was coming over around the clock working on my ankle to get me back, and yeah, it was just one of those things that I was on the bench and I didn't get on that game, it was a weird thing for me because it's never happened to me before, and I didn't know how to go about it. Like how to go about it from there. It was frustrating, but it is what it is, bro.
Recently, we have seen Brad not use one replacement in games. Just how frustrating is that for players to be named on a bench and not get used or get used for like 2, 3 minutes?
Yeah, it must be just how the game's going, but like for myself, it was pretty experienced, and I felt like I could add a lot of value if even if I got 10 or 15 minutes. It was just a weird thing for me to go through because I wasn't used to it. It wasn't what I was used to in the past. So that's just like my feelings around. I'm not too sure. Like it just got to be like the feel of the game as well.
Yeah,
So
okay.
obviously, yeah, it just depends on whatever they're thinking.
Yeah. Do you feel that you played your best football at Parramatta? You played 110 games for the Eels?
Yeah, definitely. I see. I thought I'd learned a lot about the game, and then I got to Para, and it was just a whole new ball game with Brad. He just opened my eyes up, and just the technical analysis of the game and stuff that I learned from him. It was just the best, like, and it's something that I still use now. You just learn so much about the game under him, and you can just see the players he brings in. He makes them better straight away, and I think like someone um, like Papali'i who come in last couple of years, he look how good of a player. Like he backs his players. He teaches them so much about the game, and that's just what he does. Yeah, he's just second to none. Honestly, I feel like I learned so much about the game. Like I became a Kiwi international under him. I got to represent my country under him, and I just learned so much about my game as well, and understand my role better under him. So, no, definitely.
How do you think the Eels will go in 2023?
Uh, they're going to be thereabouts. Like 100%, they're going to be there. Now didn't have the best start, but every game they played in, they've could have won it. So once they get the full deck of boys back on deck, got Laney's back this week, which is a big inclusion for the boys. Once they get June's back and they start getting some consistency, they got Maddo back as well. No, I think they can go really well, and they'll definitely be there at the pointy end of the season. That's for sure.
Yeah, let's hope so. Well, I said before you moved over to the UK, and despite some off-field dramas, which we won't go into, what was your UK experience like with Hull KR?
Oh man, we loved it. We went over there. We weren't sure what it was going to be like, but the crew. First of all, was Tony. So Tony Smith, who was a coach, he just made us. He was just such a good bloke. Like I said before, he's like a father figure to me. So just to have a coach like him, a mentor like him, was unreal. But my family really, really enjoyed it. The kids, they got settled into school really quickly, which made it easy.
Yeah,
We had a really good crew of players over there, heaps of ex para players. So Manu and Beretta were just living around the corner with their family, so it made Sarah and the kids feel welcome.
yeah,
Had a good bunch of at Hull KR, Sean Kenny Dow, Albert Vette, Kane Lynette, so we had like a real good bunch of boys and families, which just made it real easy for us. We got the kids going to sport. They did heaps of traveling. We got to travel the world, see all these different countries that not many kids at their age get to experience. So we're very grateful that we got to go over there and we had a really good experience. The whole KR crowd, honestly, that they're like the Para fans. They
Yeah.
were like they don't get that good of a crowds over there, like compared to NRL. But like whole KR, 1,000% like the best crowd in the comp, and they're just so loud. Like they just do it different to Australian rugby league where they're just like singing and chanting the whole time. So no, we loved it, man, and really enjoyed it.
Did they have a tacker song? Because I've heard that they're known to sing songs after
Yeah.
players score tries.
Oh, I wish they did have a song, and my kids were laughing. They thought it was so cool. Like and they do it so loud, So,
Yeah.
um, but what was the song? It was might come to me soon, but
Okay.
it was
Yeah. Yeah.
very
No,
good.
I've heard that they like to celebrate tries for their players by singing those songs. Now,